All right, plenty of controversy within Queensland Labor ranks after a defection by a Labor MP to the left faction, shoring up Jackie Trad's stocks, and the opposition has unveiled a four-stage plan for the reopening of the Queensland economy. Joining me now is Queensland Leader of the Opposition, Ms Frecklington. Deb, thanks for joining us. Before we get into some of that stuff, I know you put out a statement earlier today. Obviously, we've got the prayers of everyone in Queensland for the 5 people seriously injured in that Moranbah mining accident earlier today.
Yeah, look, Gleeson, it's great to be on your show, and of course, on behalf of anyone in Queensland, everyone in Queensland, I should say, you know, our thoughts and prayers go out to those 5 miners of that terrible incident that happened underground at Moranbah. I've actually just got off the phone from Dale Last, the Shadow Mines Minister here in Queensland, who is a short throw away at Middlemount actually this evening, and he also sends his regards. But the most important thing is that hopefully that these 5 people who have been injured are well. They're on their way apparently down to Brisbane or to a bigger facility, health facility at the moment. And like I said, Gleeson, our thoughts and prayers go out to the entire mining community in Moranbah tonight.
All right, now there's been big calls, strident calls for a roadmap out of the coronavirus pandemic for Queenslanders, and in fact throughout the country for that matter. I think the Palaszczuk government has probably been a little bit slow off the mark thus far. You've put out a 4-stage roadmap today. Take us through it.
Yeah, well, look, thanks, Gleeson. And it is really important. We've even had the PM today try to encourage the states to start reopening again. So what the LNP have done is we've released the LNP's roadmap to recovery, which is giving businesses the confidence that there is, or should be, a staged approach. So what the LNP stage approach is, of course, we start with businesses like restaurants and cafes, and I was in one today which was able to explain to us how using social distancing and all of the COVID rules that they can reopen again, but they need time. They need time to get, at least a couple of weeks to get everything sorted so they can advertise, get their product in and start working again. And then right out to maybe in a couple of months' time where we'll see businesses like gyms open as well, Gleeson. So one thing though that is really important is that this is a roadmap to give businesses an idea that there can be a staged recovery or a roadmap to get to the end of this. I mean, this health crisis cannot become an economic crisis, and that's what we're seeing. But the other thing is, Gleeson, is this is just a 4-stage plan, open for consultation. We're looking for feedback, and I believe that regional Queensland, for example, areas like Townsville, which have been COVID-free for a good couple of weeks, anywhere west of Roma haven't even had a case. Places like Mount Isa, they've not had a case of COVID. I mean, they should be able to move through those gates a lot earlier. But quite simply, Gleeson, we've had no choice but to do this because the Palaszczuk government have been sitting on their hands. Look, business and industry have been screaming out for some leadership in this space, and this is what businesses need to get back to work. Confidence
and certainty are 2 words that are very underrated when it comes to this, and I think that's the key. I think that the leadership being shown by the Palaszczuk government hasn't been there when it comes. People just want to know. If you're owning a gym or you're owning a cafe, you want to know, is it June 1? Is it July 1? Is it July 15? They just want to know so that they can plan for the future. All right, now the other aspect of the way in which this particular pandemic has been handled by the government here in Queensland that's created a lot of controversy is the schooling system. Yeah. We won't have the little ones and the big ones back to May 11 and then the other ones in the middle till May 25. Has the Queensland Teachers Union basically blackmail the government into this decision? Well, Gleeson, I think it appears that the Teachers Union obviously have blackmailed Anastasia Palaszczuk and the government into making this decision, although I would say that on the weekend when the Premier did her backflip in relation to some school students going back, it came as a shock to the teachers as well. Look, the LNP have been calling, and I've been calling for the last 3 weeks, that our kids should be back in school. I've got one child in Year 12, and like any parent,
Obviously teachers aren't paid enough because it is extremely difficult to work full-time or try to run a business and homeschool your kids. There is no health advice, Gleeso, that tells us that kids should not be back at school. And that is what the LNP have been doing. We've been calling on Anastasia Palaszczuk, be upfront and honest with us, give us the health advice that tells the government that the schools should remain shut, but there isn't any. And now what we've got is a staged approach. So I think it's year 11 and 12 and 1s and 2s can go back coming this Monday. But then we've got split families. So what I'd like to see is I'd like to see all kids and the parents who want those kids back at school to be sending their kids to school. It's the best interest for these kids. We cannot afford to let them lose 12 months worth of their education. And I don't know about some of the parents that are listening, but I can tell you that a lot of kids are just simply not doing the work that's being set out for them because quite rightfully, I mean, their parents are busy trying to either be at work, run a business or look after babies. So it's extremely difficult to homeschool your kids if you're not set up for it. And that's not even touching on the issue that I spoke about a couple of weeks ago around disadvantaged areas of Queensland who either don't have good internet service or they've got more than 1 or 2 kids that just don't have a device in front of them. I don't know how many houses have more than one device to let their children learn off.
What did you think of Jim Madden, the Ipswich MP's defection from the old guard to the left, basically shoring up Jackie Tradd's numbers today?
Well, look, it's interesting, Gleeso, and obviously the Labor Party are in the middle of infighting, in the middle of a global pandemic, and they really should be sorting out their own backyard and then getting on with governing the state. So no wonder the Premier has been unable to turn her mind to a roadmap to recovery when she's got, factional infighting happening. It's fascinating. I think the member for Ipswich West has left Anastasia Palaszczuk's own faction. I mean, that's the faction he was a proud member of, and now he's moved to Jackie Tradd. So I think it's very telling when the backbench of Anastasia Palaszczuk's party room is revolting like this. I mean, obviously, he's got a story to tell. I'm not sure if anyone's heard it yet, but it'll be interesting times ahead. But what I'm interested in is making sure that Queenslanders who are really worried about how they're going to pay their bills actually have a roadmap to recovery and how they can come out on the other side of this coronavirus. That's what I'd be encouraging the Premier to be concentrating on. Sort your mess out with your backbench and get to work. Give businesses a piece of paper or something that they can look at that gives them some certainty around reopening, because any of the businesses in my patch, Gleeso, in and around Kingaroy in particular, they're just desperate to get some people back in their shops, to get people spending money again, and so that they can re-employ people. And that's exactly why we need to see that 50K limit be moved and a bit of common sense applied to other areas outside of the southeast. So a long answer to your Jim Madden question, but you know what? I, like most Queenslanders, are probably a bit more interested in how the economy is going to kickstart.
Well, it's interesting. He posted something on Facebook today where he basically said that he was fully supporting Palaszczuk, but he needed to get into the left faction if he wanted to get any funding for his electorate, which basically confirmed what we've known all along, that unless you're in the left faction, you don't get any money from Tradd.
Well,
crazy stuff.
It's pretty telling.
Yeah, go on.
I was just going to say, Gleeson, look, it's pretty telling. I also heard a rumour today that he said he had to move to the left so he could become the Ag Minister. So God help regional Queensland if that's the best they've got.
All right, Ms Frecklington, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Sky News Across Australia. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks, Gleeson.